Global company profile. FedEx is a $45 billion company, began with a single hub in Memphis, Tennessee, which is now referred to as their super hub. Since then, it has include hubs in Paris, Guangzhou, China, Miami, Latin America, Toronto, in Europe, using 667 aircraft. FedEx delivers packages to 375 airports across the globe using more than 80,000 vans and trucks. Importance of location strategy. Since location has a significant impact on both fixed and variable costs, businesses all over the world are utilizing the principle and strategy presented in this chapter to help with their location decision. Location significantly affects the company's overall risk and profit. For example, transportation costs alone may account for as much as 25% of the product selling price, but depending on the product and the type of production or service being provided, organization may also choose to move their production or support centers due to change in the consumers and demographic. Location and cost. Given how much of an impact location has on both cost and revenue, location frequently makes or breaks a company's business plan. Major multinational corporations in various industries, such as mobile and phones and cars, currently intend to operate in all of their primary markets. Selecting a location that supports the low-cost technique demand on extra thought.
Factors that affect location decisions. Besides globalization, a number of other factors affect the location decision. Among these are labor productivity, foreign exchange culture, and changing attitudes toward the industry, and proximity to market supplies and competitors. Labor productivity. Differences exist in productivity in various countries. Management is interested in the combination of production and the wage rate. Critical factors leading to low productivity to be considered is poor training, poor education, and poor work habits may not be a good buy at low wages, and also difficulties in assessing workplace location. The formula for labor cost per unit is labor cost per day divided by production units per day. Exchange rate and currency risk. Firms can take advantage of particularly favorable exchange rate by relocating or exporting to a foreign country. However, the values of foreign exchange rate in most countries is volatile. Operational hedging. What is operational hedging? So firms can have excess capacity in multiple countries and then shift production levels from location to location as exchange rates change. Next is cost. There's two types of cost. First is tangible cost, which can be identified and measured. The example is utilities, labor, material, taxes, depreciation, cost of transportation of raw materials, finished goods are considered into overall cost of location. And second is intangible cost, which cannot be easily quantified. The example is quality of life, like quality of education, public transportation facilities, community attitude towards industry and the company, and also government. Next is political risk, values, and culture. Political risk tied to government positions on property rights, zoning, pollution, and job stability can sway location choices. These views influenced by company leadership vary among workers due to cultural differences. Worker values like turnover, unions, and absenteeism impact relocations. Cultural gaps such as punctuality and corruption differences challenge global operations can impact in production and supply chains. Next is proximity to markets. Being close to consumers is vital for firms, notably service-oriented ones like drugstore, restaurant, post officers, and barbers, focusing on demographics and market proximity. Manufacturing companies benefit from customer proximity when transporting goods in costly due to size, weight, or fragility. Foreign auto giants like Mercedes, Honda, and Toyota produce cars in the US to cater to American markets.
Proximity to suppliers. There are three main factors that cause this, which is perishability, transportation cost, and bulk. Perishable raw materials pose challenges for long-distance processing and consumption, with firms requiring proximity to suppliers for heavy and bulky materials to reduce their transportation cost and transportation time. Proximity to competitors. There are a term called clustering, which refers to the phenomenon where one's market is closely positioned with rival firms despite their initial reluctance. The clustering of competitors in a specific area is driven by the abundance of resources like natural resources, information, venture capital, and talent, attracting firms to establish operations similar to how sugar attracts N. Method of evaluating location and alternatives. There are four major methods: the factor rating method, locational cost value analysis, the center of gravity method, and the transportation model. The factor rating method is the most popular one for selecting a location because it considers various objective factors. It has 6 steps, which the first one is to develop a list of relevant factors called key success factors. The second one to assign weight for each factors to reflect its relative importance to the company's objective. The third one is to develop a scale, for example, 1 to 10 or 1 to 100. The fourth one is to score each location for each factors. 5 is to multiply the score by the weight for each factors and multiply them and total them. And 6 is to make a recommendation on the maximum point score. In this example, you can see how France is actually compared to Denmark with 5 different key success factors and 5 different ways for each factors. And the total for France is 70.35 and Denmark is 68, which in this case we choose France because it's a higher total score.
Okay, next we'll be talking about Geographic Information System. It is a system that stores and displays information that can be linked to a geographic location. For instance, retailers, bank, food chains, gas station, and print shops and franchises can all use geographic coded files from a GIS to conduct demographic analysis by combining population, age, income, traffic flow, and density figures with geography. A retailer can pinpoint the best location for a new store or restaurant. Here are some of the geographic database available in many GISs. Census data by block, tract, city, county, congressional, district, metropolitan area, state, and zip code. Maps of every street, highway, bridge, and tunnels in the US. Utilities such as electrical, water, and gas lines, all rivers, mountains, lakes, and forests, and all major airports, colleges, and hospitals. For example, airlines use GIS to identify airports where ground service are the most effective. The information is then used to help schedule and to decide where to purchase fuel, meal, and other services. And another example is commercial office building developers use GIS in selection for cities for future construction. Building new office space takes several years. Therefore, developers use GIS, which can offer them different benefits. So GIS is also used to analyze factors that influence location decision by addressing 5 elements of each city: residential areas, retail shop, cultural and entertainment centers, crime incidents, transportation options. Examples of how location scouting GIS software is turning commercial real estate into science. Carvel Ice Cream. This is a 90-year-old chain of ice cream shops using GIS to create a demographic profile of what a typically successful neighborhood of Carvel looks like, mostly in terms of income and ages. Sabre Roofing, rather than sending workers out to estimate the cost of re-roofing jobs in Redwood City, California, firms pull up aerial shots of the building via Google Earth. The owner can measure the roof and evaluate its condition and email the client an estimate, saving hundreds of miles of driving daily. In one case, while on the phone, a potential client was told her roof was too steep for the company to tackle after Sabre employees quickly looked up the home on Google Earth. So the summary of this whole chapter is that locations may determine up to 50% of operating expense. Location is also a critical element in determining the revenue for the service, retail, or professional firm. Industrial firms need to consider both tangible and intangible costs. Industrial locations problems are typically addressed via a factor rating method, location cost volume analysis, the center of the gravity method, and the transportation method of linear programming. For service, retail, and professional organizations, analysis is typically made of a variety of variables, including purchasing power of a drawing area, competition, advertising, promotion, physical qualities of the location, and operating policies.
Next, we're gonna talk about the center of gravity method. So this is a method based on mathematics that determines where a single distribution point serving multiple locations or spots should be placed. So we're gonna find the most perfect location. So here's the formula for the x coordinate of the center of gravity and for the y coordinate of the center of gravity. To simplify, let's move on to the question. So here is an example of 4 types of store location and also the coordinates. So the solution is we put all of these 4 types of location into the formula. For example, like Chicago, which is 30, and the number of containers shipped per month, which is 2,000. So 30 times 2,000, and etc., divided by the numbers of containers shipped per location. So for Chicago, it's 2,000, and for Pittsburgh, it's plus 1,000, and so on and so on. So we found that the x coordinate of the center of gravity is 66.7. Meanwhile, for the y coordinate of the center of gravity, we use the same formula as x, but we use the y coordinate. For example, like for the first one, which is 120 times 2,000, not 30 times 2,000. So we found that the central location for the stores is 66.7 and 93.3.
The next one is ethical dilemma. The location bidding war scenario involving United Airlines raises ethical concerns about transparency, stakeholders' responsibility, and social justice. Legally, there are obligations related to the contractual commitments and government accountability for prudent resource allocation. Economically, bidding wars can strain government finances, impact job creation, and require a delicate balance between incentives and economic viability. Recommendations include involving the public in decisions, establishing limits on incentives, incorporating clawback provisions, and conducting thorough assessment of long-term facility viability. Balancing economic Development with ethical and legal consideration is essential for sustainable and responsible decision making in such scenarios. So that's all about our presentation. Pardon if there are any inappropriate words coming from us, and thank you for your listening.